Hi everyone! We're going to do some more writing work today on our lovely story, The Lion Inside. So do you remember a couple of days ago, I asked you to think of some things you liked and didn't like about the book, and I asked you to think of a question for the author. Who can remember what the author's job is? That's right, the author's job is to write the book. And what we're going to do today is we're going to be writing a letter to the authors of The Lion Inside, and they are called Rachel and Jim. So we're going to be writing a letter telling them what we liked about the book that they wrote. Now, it's quite tricky to just write a letter off the top of your head. So I'm going to give you some help with writing your letter. We've got a little bit of a structure so that we know what we need to include in our letter. So we've got 6 sections to fill in here. And there's some little picture clues to remind you what needs to go in each section. So the first section is the opening. So we're going to introduce ourselves to Rachel and Jim. So who can remember how we start a letter? There's a certain word that we have to use. I bet a lot of you can remember. It's dear. So we'd start our letter by saying, Dear Rachel and Jim. And you can use your phonics to sound out the word dear, d-ear. Dear Rachel and Jim. So that's going to be our opening, and I think you'll all be writing the same thing for that section of your letter. Okay, then we have an introduction. And this is where we're just going to explain a little bit about why we're writing. We're going to explain that we've been reading the story in class and that we enjoyed the story. Now, you can say that in whatever way you want. I'm not going to say that you need to do the same sentence as me and Pip, because this is Pip's letter. Pip the mouse has been helping me with this letter. But this is what we came up with. We read The Lion Inside at school and it was great. Now, some of you might want to write more than that for your introduction. You might want to write a much longer sentence, so you might like to write a couple of sentences, or you might want to write a little bit less than this. It's up to you, and you can choose the level of challenge that's right for you. So this is what we did for our introduction. In the next section, we're going to say something about the character of Mouse. So think about what you liked about the character of Mouse, or what you didn't like about the character of Mouse when we were thinking about forming our opinions. And then you can write your sentence about Mouse in there. So Pip and I decided to say, I liked Mouse because he is a mouse like me, because Pip is a little mouse too. But you're obviously not going to write that. You might say that you like how brave Mouse is. You might like what Mouse looks like. It's entirely up to you. And then in the next section, we're going to say something about Lion. And this is what we chose. Lion was my favourite because of his big roar. But maybe for your letter, maybe Mouse is your favourite. And maybe you found Lion a little bit scary. It's up to you. You can write whatever you want. And then we've got the question section where you're going to think of a question to ask the author. And that's why I asked you to come up with a question the other day. You might want to ask them what they like about writing. You might want to ask them who their favourite character in the story is. Pip and I decided to go with, why did you choose a lion and a mouse for the characters? And then finally, we've got our close of our letter where we're going to sign off. So we're going to say something nice and we're going to say goodbye. So Pip went for, thank you for writing this book, from Pip. But you might want to say, you might want to tell Rachel and Jim that this is your favourite book ever. You might want to say something else to them to sign off. So this is just an idea of the kind of thing that you could say, but you're going to bring your own thoughts to it. But let's stick with these 6 helpful sections. And when you're writing this on your piece of paper, you can just have this up in front of you to remind you of what the sections are. Now, as I said, some of you might want to write less than what Pip and I wrote. Some of you might want to write more than what Pip and I wrote. If you feel really confident with your writing, these are 3 ways that you can make your writing even more interesting, that you can up level it. So using the word and to join two ideas together, you might say Lion is my favourite character because he's so brave and strong. Or you could join two sentences together using adjectives. So you might say, I really loved the little grey mouse. So adjectives, remember, are our describing words. So in that sentence, the describing words are little and grey. And finally, using because. So saying, this is my favourite book because, and then making your sentence longer. So if you want a challenge, you want to extend your writing, you're really confident, using and, using adjectives and using because will help you do that. Now, some of you might feel a little bit less confident with your writing, and you might want to just concentrate on your phonics and sounding out the words you need. So if you feel a little bit less confident, if you've got a printer, you can print this page off, or you can just use a piece of paper. But if you're feeling a little bit less confident, don't worry about writing these bits. Just concentrate on the bit where we're writing our opinions. So, for example, here where we're writing about the mouse. I liked Mouse because he is small and grey. You could do. I liked Mouse because he is so brave. Okay, and then maybe Lion. You could say something about Lion in there, and we're just finishing off the sentence. I like Lion because he has a big roar. And then finishing off the bits where there's a line for you to write on. So yeah, if you're feeling a little bit less confident with your writing, you can use this as a guide and just fill in the blanks and concentrate on using your amazing phonics. So I'm going to post this for you, and I'm going to post all the bits to go with it, and I'm really excited to see your amazing letters to Rachel and Jim.